Welcome to the Intuitive Inc. radio show live with your host, Hafeez Sumani, with another inspiring author who can help you discover your true potential. Live on ClearSource Radio.
Hello, everybody. It is indeed Sunday night, and I am Hafeez Sumani. We have another great show for you tonight. It's about how to make a comeback. And all of us at one time in our lives, in my case many, have needed to know how to do that. Because let me tell you, I've been down and back up so many times I can't even tell you. But I got stronger every time, which is exactly what our author is going to be talking about. His name is Hafeez Sumani. He's written a book called Interwork to Find Your Greatness, Empower Yourself. And that's what it's all about. He is also not only an author, but a motivational speaker and a digital marketing consultant. So welcome, Hafeez. Thank you so much for joining me on a Sunday night.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I think you're calling from Calgary, Canada. Is that correct?
I'm from Toronto, actually.
Are you in Toronto right now?
Currently, yes.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, I am a Canadian citizen still. So, oh, Canada up there. I love you. We're having a heat wave down here right now in California, which, happens, but not usually down where I am by the beach. So we're all sweaty and hot. It's hot down here. We're having a heat wave. Okay, I promised I wouldn't sing because people have told me they'll never listen to the show again. All right. Okay, so let's start at the beginning because it's a fascinating story because, we've all had our bumps and we've all been taken down and we've all been on our knees, I'm sure, but you got it big time in 2012 when you didn't make the London Olympics. So tell me about that. First of all, where are you from and how did you start to even want to strive to be in the Olympics in the first place? Because you got pretty damn far.
Yes. It's quite a story, actually. So it goes way back to where I grew up originally. So my parents are from Ghana originally, okay, and my dad went to school in Saudi Arabia, and he ended up settling there, and both me and my sister and I were born there. So grew up in Saudi Arabia in a city called Dammam. Wow. So, yeah, so so I went to a school, so it's a private school called Indian International School. So I had to learn Hindi for the first 2 years, which was quite an interesting experience.
Well, because that wasn't even their language, right? What was your home language? What's the first language you learned?
English, actually.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. No, that's great. Go ahead. Good.
Yeah.
Oh, this is fascinating. Go ahead.
Yeah, so English, and then also growing up in the Middle East, I was also learning Arabic as well. But in the school that I was at, it was I had to learn Hindi. It was mandatory for the first year, and after that, they changed the curriculum so you could either choose either Hindi, Urdu, or Arabic. So I chose Arabic. So growing up, being in that school, I didn't really fit in. I was very shy, and I was picked on a lot. Everybody would pick on me, and they would chase me, and right. So that was my experience in that school, and they had like a sports day, like an athletic day. They had like different events, and they had like sprints and long jump, and they have this one where you have the egg and the spoon in your mouth, and you have to balance it. Yeah. Yeah. So I did the 100 meters, and I won my race, and that was the beginning. That was when things started to shift for me, because everybody that was picking on me suddenly wanted to be my friend. Yeah. And overnight, I became this celebrity person. Like everybody wanted to be my friend, and when it was recess, all these kids would line up to race me one by one, and I just would beat them. I just kept on winning. How old? That was
wait. How old were you? How old were you then? How old?
Oh, I was 6 years old.
Wow. Oh, okay. This started young. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So that had an impact on me, and and growing up, I was like, wow, like this is what I should do. Like athletics, being in sports, will make me seen and I'll be more acceptable. So all these things was what led me, 20 years later to be training for the Olympics. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was the gist of it. And when I was 8 years old was when my whole family and we immigrated to Canada, to Calgary. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and grew up there most of my life. Went to university. And I did varsity track and field, and I just kept on improving. And I competed at nationals. I traveled around the States, and I ranked top 10 in the country in the 400 meters. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was.
So you were training even when you were in university. You were already set on training. This was your goal, not just because you weren't going to be bullied anymore and maybe be a chick magnet, but you were set in your mind. This is something I love right away, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was something that running is something that I love doing. Like it's just so freeing for me, and I loved it. It was a job. 6 days a week I would train. There's the running, there's the weightlifting,
right?
Nutrition, yoga, like so many things went into it. So it was.
Right. There's a lesson. There's a lesson right there too, because when you love something, it's not really work, because you can't really do that many hours of training day after day after day after day if you don't love it. You just have to love it, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you were already winning nationals. You were doing everything you were supposed to do, and then you were headed for the Olympics, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And 2012 was they had Olympic trials in Calgary, in my hometown. So that was when. So it was a huge deal. Like the media would come to my practice, and then they would interview me, and the university wrote an article about me, and also like my other training partners as well too. So it was quite a huge thing. And around that time too, I was also dealing with injuries as well too. I had Achilles problems and like knee issues, so a lot of injuries I was nursing, and the build-up as well too made me also very anxious as well too.
Right. And
I ended up pulling my hamstring 3 weeks prior to trials, and that was the end of my season. So it was so even before, I didn't even get a chance to even compete because I didn't recover in time.
Okay. So
that was the end of that, and it was very devastating.
Well, I'm sure, absolutely. But did you not? You couldn't compete for that Olympics. So did you recover completely enough to be in good enough shape in case you wanted to compete again later, or what happened there?
What happened was what I call an awakening.
No, that's good. You got woke. Right?
Yes. Yeah. So what happened was, like, around that time I graduated university, marketing degree, and I didn't really have any other plan. My whole focus was make the Olympics, and that was it. Mm-hmm. I didn't have any plan B, and I fell into this the state of depression, and I didn't. I was in this little slump that I couldn't get out of. Normally I'm always positive. I can get myself out of things, but I was just stuck in this rut for a while. And I even went to see a doctor as well too. And, they prescribed me some happy pills as well. And it was something that within me, it didn't feel right. I was like, I can, this is temporary. I can overcome this. Something within me was telling me that no, we don't need this. There's another way. Right. And it was so strong and so, it was like, I couldn't ignore it. I was like, okay, like there's something else. There's something that I can do to, and then I asked myself, well, what is it that I want to do? I said, well, I just want to just be happy. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, I want to be happy. So what is happiness? So then and that asking me myself, question started me on the path of just searching and exploring. And so I went to the bookstore and the library, and I got all these books on happiness. I just started to read, and it was the beginning. Like I like within a span of like 2 years, I read so many books on various topics. So with happiness, the best definition that I found was by a psychologist named Dr. Martin Seligman, and he says that happiness is really a state. Mm-hmm. It always changes. He likes to use the word flourish or joy, like a state that you're that you're in. No matter what the circumstances, you're always good. Right. And we think of like positive emotions, be it smiling and laughing. Right. That's an aspect of it, but it's not, it's only one component of it. There's also doing something in which you're engaged in or the flow state, something in which you're doing and just time just flies by. It feels like an hour, but like 4 hours have gone by. Like, where's the time gone? Because you're so immersed in it. Right. Right.
Mm-hmm. The zone. And you knew about the zone because you had to go in there to do, for athletics, you have to do. But wait, absolutely. You decided against the antidepressant pills, which is good, yay. But you didn't ever reconsider trying out for the next Olympics at all? You just decided inside of you that was enough?
I did because I did some deep diving, and what I discovered about myself was that, remember this when I was telling you before when I was in the in Saudi Arabia in that school, the Indian all Indian school, I had to I discovered that I had this talent, and then I was recognized from it. Right. So that energy, that belief was still within me. That was why I was doing it. I was doing it for acceptance.
Yes.
Right? Right. So as soon as I had that, I'm like, okay, well, that was what was driving me. I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be accepted.
Very good. Mm-hmm.
So as soon as I discovered that, and I was able to shift that belief that I am enough, I like, it's a form of self-love towards myself and acceptance.
Right.
Then it took away that need for me to compete.
Right.
So it wasn't there. I mean, I still love running, like I still do, but it wasn't, it wasn't that big of a factor for me anymore because I felt full, I felt whole, and I felt completed.
Right. And that's so important, Hafeez. It's so important, I'm telling you, because really we shouldn't ask ourselves how to do something. We should ask ourselves why we're doing it. Because the motivation behind whatever we do is key. It's that will bring it into manifestation, because that your true motivation, your true intent is what manifests really easily, because it's coming out of your heart, and it is fun and it is joy itself.
Yes.
Right? Yes, that was really good that you learned that so young. And is that from the books that you started delving into?
Yeah, it was from the books that I was reading. I just had this insatiable curiosity, and that's something I always had as a kid. I was always very curious, and I wanted just to know, like, these leaders that we look up to. For example, Malcolm X, MLK, Gandhi. What makes them so special? And I read their books, their story, and they were just like they were no different than you and me. They just had a calling, and they had a purpose within, and they had the right people along the way to help them, to support them, and all the obstacles that they went through. So just reading that, it was inspiring. That was what inspired me, to see what their struggles were and how they developed and became who they are.
Right, exactly. Right? And the struggles that you just referred to are really important, because I know even the Dalai Lama said, I might get the quote a little wrong, but just from memory, the Dalai Lama said, remember that sometimes not getting what you want is a wonderful stroke of luck.
Yes.
And the Buddha said it too. You know, the Buddha said sometimes not getting what you want is the greatest gift of all. Something like that. Very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Another one that I think a really good friend of mine told me was that when you ask for something, the universe usually has three answers for you. Usually it's yes,
right,
not yet, or I have something better for you.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Right. So, there's something better in mind, because sometimes we think we know what we're doing. And I have to say, you know, honestly, I can say very few things with exact certainty. And one of them that is that if there is a God, and I truly believe there is, I don't think it's some anthropomorphic guy in the sky, but there's definitely an energy, and there's definitely, I call it God. You can call it source, the universe, whatever. I truly believe that God exists. And one thing I know for all certainty is that he's smarter than I am. He, she, whatever. I mean, it's smarter than me. So sometimes we need to get out of our own way and let that energy take us where we want to go. And it may not be what we think it is, you know? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think that, you know, you took a turn, and it took you to who you are. Like even Oprah Winfrey said, you know, I would never change a hair on a person's head in my past, because through all the difficulties she went through, because she said, if I did, I don't know if I'd be here where she is now, which is of course a billionaire. So, I mean, you know, it's not just about money, but as successful as she is, you know, so she wouldn't change anything. And it sounds like what you're saying is that you wouldn't change anything either.
No, absolutely not.
Right. Okay, so this led you on a journey of self-discovery and awakened you to your inner self, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what did you find out? What did you discover?
You know, there's so many things really, and the journey is never. It's not over. Still ongoing.
Yeah, of course not. I mean, there's going to be a million more things you're going to discover along the way. I'm just talking about at that point in time, because you were in a funk.
And there was one book that really helped me that I.
Mine? No. Okay. Wasn't written yet.
Not at that time.
Okay. Whose was it?
It's called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior
by
Dan.
Oh my God, I love him. Dan Millman. Yeah.
Amazing book, yes. And in that book, he tells a story of himself as an athlete going through, trying to
Olympics.
Be successful in this. So I really it was speaking to me in so many levels.
Yes, I heard Dan Millman speak. My daughter went to the University of California, Berkeley. And her boyfriend at the time back then was on the Berkeley the Berkeley gymnastics team, and he was headed for the Olympics as well, and he didn't make it either because he had broken his neck as a young boy training. Anyways, a long story. But Dan Millman came to UC Berkeley to speak, and he and I had a big discussion about it, and I went and heard him talk. He's a wonderful, very enlightened soul. Yeah, he is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So his book was that was the one that was like, okay, you know, do it for the fun. You don't, and instead of doing it for the validation, the need to be acceptance. So that was the one that really helped me to shift out of that. And once I got out of that too, I started diving more into spirituality. I wanted to know more about different philosophies. I went to a retreat in Denver, Colorado. This was when was this? 2000 and it was about a year or two after that. So 2014, around there. And I met a lot of people that were they're all social entrepreneurs, and they were doing things that they loved. They were expressing their gifts in many different in their own unique ways, and it was for 5 days that I was in this space, and it was like it was so inspiring for me. It moved me so much that it influenced me to do the same for myself as well too. It planted a seed, that we know, like I have a gift to offer. You know, and at that time I didn't know what it was. I'm like, well, I did track, I didn't make the Olympics. Like, what do I have to give? You know, and that was, but I knew that there was something within me that I have to offer. Yeah. And it just started with me just telling my story that I did track, I did this, and, I didn't end up making it, but people were moved by it. People were inspired. Like, that's amazing. I'm like,
of course.
I didn't make it. What are you talking about? No. But the fact that you were disciplined and you had the will and you had these injuries and you overcome it and you did all these things and you're like, that is inspiring. And I was like, really? Okay. So I started to tell my story. Good. And I started to post on social media, on Instagram, and just share my story. And every day I would post something inspirational. I would share something every day, and it started to grow and grow and grow. And before I knew it, I had, over 10,000 followers, and I was like, okay, well,
awesome.
I have something to give here. There is definitely something I'm doing here. So so that's the path has led me on.
Right, right. So stop right there and tell everybody out there how would they find that social media that they can connect to with you that you're talking about? You're still doing it, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's Instagram at Hafeez _alchemist.
Okay.
So Hafeez, Hafeez _ and then alchemist, ALCHEMIST.
Good. Okay, there you go. Yeah. That's on Instagram, and that's the main social media page. Do you have anything on Facebook?
On Facebook, yes. So my name, Hafeez Sumani. Mm-hmm. I have a Facebook page on there as well too.
Well, we're going to have to spell that for everybody. I'm going to do Hafeez again. It's Hafeez, as the Canadians say. We say Z, but that's I remember that because I grew up in Montreal partially.
That's right.
And then Sumani, Sumani. You can find them in both places. And so we're going to start talking about the book. But before I do that, we're almost halfway through the show already. If you can believe that, Hafeez. Can you? I mean, we're already half. Yeah. Oh, I could talk to you for hours. I mean, your story is fascinating, but it's also inspiring. I mean, because, and that's why people connected with you, because, it's not, we all fall down. I mean, nobody gets through life, I don't think, without some setbacks and obstacles. I don't call them failures. I call them challenges. But that's because that's what makes us who we are. And it's not the caliber of how many times you do that or if you're good at it. It's just if you can do it, if you can just pick yourself up, dust yourself off and go in a different direction, So anyway, if there's anyone brave enough out there to call in and ask a question of Hafeez, either about his athletics or his, it's a comeback story. And I love a comeback story. So if anybody else out there has a question for him, call in now, 949-313-8880. The lines are now open. Again, 949-313-8880. We're talking to Hafeez Sumani, and he's written a book called Interwork to Find Your Greatness, Empower Yourself. So let's talk about that. Where did the idea for the book come from?
Yes, so this came from after I was in the workforce. I was working in my field in marketing for a couple years, and the economy wasn't doing so well, and I ended up getting laid off, which was one of the best things to happen to me. Mm-hmm. And in that process, I wanted to start my own business. I always knew I wanted to do it, but I was, I had some fears around it. And so the universe did it for me. He's like, you know what? I'm going to throw you right in there.
It will. It'll do. Let me guess. What year was that? Because there were a lot of layoffs, around 2015. Well, is this recent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. 2015, 2015. Yeah.
There you go. So the universe will do that. It'll kick in. It's very patient, but when it needs to do something, it does. So there you were out on your own, right?
Yes, exactly. And, at the time my social media page was already popular, it was already growing. So people wanted to know more about me, more about my story. How I can, any advice, because I'd be getting messages every day from people asking for advice and, how do I do this and how do you, what can I do to get out of depression or to empower myself? So I decided that, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to put this together. And yeah, so that's how the process started. And the message I wanted to convey is that all the power comes from within. So everything that you already need is already within you. We are already perfect as we are.
Right.
You are exactly where you need to be right now. Mm-hmm. And everything. So we're always a work in progress.
Yes.
Right. But it's progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And it's about wholeness, not being perfect. Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I decided to write this book on how to 10 steps to discovering your greatness.
Okay. So
getting out of your comfort zone and go on.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, what are some of the 10 steps? Just highlight a few of your favorites or the best ones that you like.
Yeah. So the first one is getting out of your comfort zone.
Uh-huh.
And so everything starts with a decision. So making a decision what you want to do right now, because everything. So we're always thinking about the future, right? This is what I want to do. I'm not where I'm supposed to be right now, so that causes anxiety.
Right.
Okay. Right, but everything that occurs happens in the present. Mm-hmm. Right, and.
Exactly, including the future.
So it's breaking it down to steps. Okay, so I want to, let's say, for example, I want to get back into training. I want to exercise again. So like, what can I do today, right now, that will bring me one step closer to that? So a small thing right now, like in the present. Mm-hmm. As opposed to leaving it for tomorrow. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do this. Like, what can you do right now? When you do that one thing, then you do the next thing the next day. Like, okay, I did this. Perfect. It's small steps, small progress.
Baby steps. I tell everybody the journey of 1,000,000 miles starts with one step. Yeah.
Exactly. And what can you do right now, today, not tomorrow, today?
Well, all fear comes from fear of the future, because it's like, will I get the job? And then once I get the job, will I keep the job? Will I lose the job? Will I have the job? Will I get the man? If I get the man, will I keep the man? Will he run away? Will he have an affair? It's all this stuff in the future. It's nothing.
Exactly.
As Mark Twain said, I have had thousands of worries, most of which never happened,
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, continue.
Exactly.
Continue.
And now I also want to say about anxiety as well too, is that it's also it's also the emotion for growth as well.
Oh, good.
It really is, like, it's the sense of being excited. Or being nervous, like, it's the same feeling. It's just how you interpret it.
I like that. Expand on that. Go ahead.
So it's recognizing it, that feeling, and accepting it, not denying it, not being like, oh, I'm not nervous, I'm not feeling this, because it'll show up more until you you see. Exactly. So once you acknowledge it, breathe into it, right, and then you allow, and then you just go with it. You just accept it, and then from there you can start to move forward, to take the steps, breathing through it with no judgment. Just do it for 30 seconds.
Yeah. Don't push it away.
Exactly.
Don't breathe into it. I like that. Okay, I'm going to open the lines again. They're open. 949-313-8880. We're discussing 10 steps to picking yourself up and onward and upward and moving forward. So, and actually, Hafeez, you know a lot about depression and how to overcome that. So if anybody has a question about that, now's the time. 949-313-8880. I know it's hard because it's a very touchy subject and it's very personal, but you don't have to say your name. You don't have to say anything. You can just call in and ask and be brave. Now, what's going to happen, Hafeez, is that I'm going to get 29 million emails tomorrow saying, I wish I would have called. Now, so if they want to contact you, should they just go to your Facebook page or your Instagram?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. So this is fascinating because you're right. Anxiety can be a positive trait. And then what are some of the other steps that you talk about?
Okay. So another one is spending time alone on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So taking, if you're busy, like just even 15 minutes a day or half an hour a day and just journal, write down what your thoughts are or even just meditating as well too, just visualizing what it is that you want and just checking yourself in.
That's a good way to put it. Do you do that, Hafeez? Do you meditate every day or?
Every day. Every day
too.
I always make time.
Me too.
For myself. Yes, absolutely. It's very important. If not, then it throws me off.
Are you kidding? I'm a wreck by noon if I don't do it. I'm bumping into walls and I can't figure out. To me, it's like brushing your teeth. I can't not do it. I've been doing it every day for 100 years. And I don't think there's it doesn't have to necessarily be meditation, but I don't think there's any religion or any encouraging belief system out there that doesn't encourage you to have some form of silence. It's silence. I can't think of one. Self-motivating, all these things that are out there now, or even just religion say, even the Bible says, be still and know that ye are God, which means meditate. Mm-hmm. And it's in the Quran and it's everywhere. It's all over the place. So I think it's something that philosophers and great minds have been trying to promote forever because we have to sit with ourselves. Which is what you did when you found out. That's how you probably discovered that. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it's probably how you discovered why you were running in the first place and why you didn't need to keep doing that.
Exactly. All the answers came from within.
That's right. Everything's inside of us. So when people go and search, I'm thinking, go and search inside. Don't go out there. There are no answers out there, right?
Exactly.
Right. And do you also believe then that the outer world is a direct reflection of your inner world?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I do
Absolutely.
too. I do too. Yeah. So that's another good step. Being alone, being by yourself, taking some time to go over. And some people have a hard time meditating, but you don't have to necessarily meditate. You can kind of be quiet, just be alone, be in peace, be just, some people meditate when they're doing the dishes, Yeah. So I have a question for a caller who did not call in, but has texted in on the line right now from Arizona, and she missed the beginning. How did he realize his need to change his life / dream of what he wanted to do? Oh, so maybe she just missed the beginning, but she's asking you again, how did that realization come to you that you did not need to return to the Olympics? And we already know the answer to that because we said it in the beginning of the show. So for you in Arizona, it was that you realized that you were running because you wanted the acceptance, because that's something you learned when you were very young, instead of running because you love to run, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And I just want to also expand on the, with spending time, a quiet time alone, is that it also takes, because you take the time for yourself to get to know yourself, deeply as to who you really are, because we have all these identities, all these masks that we put on when we're different people, and we know so much about other people. We try to be like this person, or this person's famous like this, like we try to be like them, that we don't know who we are. So that's why it's important that you take the time to get to know yourself, to be alone. Not necessarily like being alone and being lonely are different.
Yeah, explain that.
Right? So being alone, like in your space,
right?
As opposed to being lonely when you're when you're isolated, when you're not connected.
Right.
A sense of connection.
Exactly.
Is different.
Very well put. Very well put. I think that I end my show every week with "Be you to the full," because that's what's really beautiful. Because when you know who you really truly are, you don't need the law of attraction and the law. There's like 97 million laws out there that, the cause and effect and this and that and that and this. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you are true to who you really are, things happen very easily. Don't you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It just lines up.
Yeah, it lines up because it's supposed to. Right? I think, so what are some of the ways that you would encourage people to find out who they are? Besides meditating, is it about doing things you love doing, trying new things? You said it kind of in that first step, get out of your comfort zone. So
exactly.
What does that expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, so getting out of your comfort zone. So it's really about finding joy, the things that that bring you joy and brings out things within you that are just dying to be expressed. And part of that too is coming out of your comfort zone and trying out new things. And you had this, you want to go to this country, but you have all these obstacles. Like, go on that adventure. You have no idea what possibilities, what endless possibilities could occur from that, or even at a party, or approaching 10 different people instead of being in your comfortable space of people that like that one conversation with that person that could open up different possibilities that you have no idea. So that's why it's important to get out of your comfort zone, right? Because within that too, there's potential for growth as well too. Like there's growth, expansion within,
right?
Being uncomfortable,
right? But people are afraid. So what do you say to people who are afraid? Just breathe into it and feel the fear and do it anyway. Is that famous book? It's somebody's book. I can't remember. Dr. Susan, someone. But just feel it and do it anyway.
Start small. So starting small and acknowledging it. Acknowledging that, yes, I am afraid. But then ask yourself then, and like have that dialogue with yourself that, okay, well, what is something small I can do? Something like a tiny fraction of that.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Exactly. That's what I would say. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So always start small. So it's like, okay, well, instead of approaching 20 people, maybe one person, and just just say hi. Right. Or something, like breaking it down to something small and something simple. And from there, you expand more on that. Okay, well, that wasn't so bad. Okay, maybe I could do this. I could talk to this person. I could do this. So it's starting small.
Well, and the other point to that too is that you don't know if you're going to like it till you try it. So try it. And it doesn't mean you have to like it. But the more that you discover what you don't want is how you find out what you want.
Exactly. Yes.
And that's what lifts your vibration and your consciousness, is by just eliminating a lot of things. So it's like, because a lot of people say to me, well, I want to write a book. And I'm like, okay, I've written 3. I know how hard it is, to take, to have a publisher give me a contract that says I need 50,000 words in 3 months or whatever. Usually it takes me about 4 or 5 months, but that's a little more than most people understand. You have to fill blank pages, lots of them with what they're asking for. But unless they give it a try, they may love it and they may do it really, really well, but they may find out, okay, that's not what I really wanted to do. What I really wanted to do was get my voice heard, and there might be a different way to do that, or some other, it's life is like that. You figure out what you want by figuring out what you don't want, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think, okay, we're running out of time. So I'm going to allow the lines open one more time. I'm going to allow anyone that wants to call in that's brave enough, that has a question about overcoming obstacles, getting past your pain, pulling yourself out of depression. Now's the time, 949-313-8880. We're on the line with Hafeez Sumani. His book is called Interwork to Find Your Greatness and Empower Yourself, and that's what the whole book is about, and that's what this whole discussion is about too. And we're really getting down to the last few minutes of this. So really, Hafeez, what would your best advice be then to someone that out there that's going through something like what you went through?
Oh, I would say that don't be hard on yourself.
Good.
Okay?
I like that.
Don't be hard on yourself. Yeah. And be very kind to yourself. Very important.
I like that. True.
Very important. Yes. Yeah. And also support as well too. Asking for support and surrounding yourself with people as well too that will lift you up. Having a tribe of people that can lift you up and empower you as well too is another thing that is also something that's also helped me up a lot.
Yeah. Good. Right? Good advice. Very good advice. Also too, you touched on this a little bit earlier about when we started talking about taking time to be alone, because I think what happens there too is part of what's hard to be your authentic self is that you've spent probably a lifetime listening to other people tell you what you're supposed to be instead of, teachers, parents, friends, whatever. And sometimes it comes down to like being who you really are, being your authentic self, being you to the full, as I say at the end of the show, is what starts to make things happen magically, because you're coming from your true self, right?
Exactly.
And
yes.
Part of that is getting past what everybody else thinks you should be. So that tribe of people needs to be people that are supportive of you no matter what you choose to do. Right? That's legal, hopefully.
Yeah.
No, you know what I mean? It's like
exactly.
If you want to go open a bakery and just make, cookies and donuts for the rest of your life, why not? It was Mrs. Field's husband that said to her, she said she wanted to be a businesswoman, and he said, well, you don't know how to do anything except make cookies. Well, hello.
That's it right there.
I know. Really, honestly. Or, the woman that started Spanx, Sarah somebody, she's only like 40 and she's a billionaire. And she started Spanx because she couldn't get into a law school she wanted to get into. So, and I remember telling my daughter, because my daughter went to the University of Pennsylvania Law School, and she said, if I don't get into a top 10, I don't want to go. And I said, that's okay. Try, and if you don't, something else will come up. Well, she got in, but, it was like the universe, like you said, will say yes, not now, or I have something better in mind.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, what a great show. I mean, we only touched on 2 of the 10 steps, so maybe quickly, we just have a few minutes, you can kind of just briefly touch on a couple more.
Yes. So there's one thing I wanted to say about another thing about getting out of your comfort zone that I wanted to say as well too is,
okay.
A knight in shining armor is someone who has never really tested their own metal, has never really been truly been tested.
Ah, I like that. Right.
So definitely going out there and trying out new things, and also asking questions as well too. Question things, and the most important question you can ask is not how, but is why.
Why? Yeah. Exactly.
Why this? Why does this happen? And also as well too, with that as well too, when you want to manifest something, it's also, you don't think of the how. Yeah. How am I going to do this?
Right.
Don't worry about it. Just believe. Mm-hmm. Believe that this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And it's already done. And having that mindset, right, you'll program your mind to start the process for you. It'll do the how for you. It'll open it up for you. Mm-hmm. But we get so caught up in thinking logically, oh, how's this going to happen? How's this? And I always sometimes I find myself in that position too. And I catch myself. I'm like, whoa, mm-hmm. I'm too caught up in the how. Right. That's not my job.
No, that's not. That's the universe's job. That's God's
job. Exactly.
And that's really, frankly, none of your business.
Yes.
How is none of your business?
Absolutely, yeah. You can't even fathom how, this conversation, how everything lined up to... Exactly. To how we connected, there's no way, it's my mind will be blown by how things aligned, so.
No, I know. And that's how my whole life has been, how things aligned. And, mm-hmm. and, I, self-published a book 100 years ago, but I had Llewellyn Worldwide Publishers come to me at a talk I was giving in San Francisco and said they want to buy the book. That never happens. Never. It was like, are you kidding me? But but the stars align when you're just going with the flow, when you get in that flow and just be who you are and do the best and ask what, I was last year diagnosed with a life-threatening very aggressive form of ovarian cancer. And I never got down about it. I just said, why? What's this about? What am I learning? Where am I supposed to go with this? How am I supposed to use this to help mm-hmm. other people? Because my gurus always taught me as I was young and coming up in the self-improvement world and just learning and growing spiritually that all happiness in the end comes from service of some sort.
Yes.
And so I immediately went where, I could have just crawled up in a corner and died. But I just said, you know what? I really think there's a reason. There's something here that I'm going to become so much stronger and better than I've ever been before. It's going to take me to the next level of consciousness. And that's what I had been asking for. Raise me to that next level, and boy, did it.
Wow.
Yeah, it did. It did do that. And that, I think, is really important. When life hands you any kind of challenge, any kind of lemonade at all, you can make you can make it, you could turn it into something really positive just by asking yourself, what's this about? What am I supposed to get from it? Right?
Beautiful. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's what your book is about. And again, mm-hmm. we're winding down here. We've got 2 more minutes. If somebody has a quick question and they're brave enough, 949-313-8880. It's a hard subject for people to call in about, and you never know. People do or don't. But I know where they can find you. I know where to find you.
Yes. Yes. Any questions? Uh-huh. You can definitely. Mm-hmm.
I think honestly, where they might pick you up and ask you the questions they may not have called in tonight about is on Facebook or Instagram. And on Instagram, it's Hafeez _alchemist, and it's Hazeez. Hafeez. I'm so sorry. Haf.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know I'm fired. That's okay. Haf. I'm just going to fire myself. It's Haf like in Frank. Eez. Sumani. Sumani. You can Google him. You can go on Facebook or Instagram and ask away. And the ebook is available on both of those places as well, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there anything we didn't cover that you wanted to say? Because we're kind of winding down, and sometimes I get carried away and talk too much myself.
Yes, I guess I'll. Another thing as well too that I guess I can close with is trust, right? So, your ability to trust others has more to do with your ability to trust yourself. That everything's going to be okay regardless of the outcome.
Yes.
Right. So that comes from self-love. Yes.
And not self-love in the narcissistic sense, because that's not what we're talking about here. But we have to have I often get asked at workshops and speaking engagements, what's the most important thing in the world? And people expect me to say love. I do, but I say self-love, self-worth, because our ability to do everything in this world comes from that. Our ability to have relationships, to our career, to abundance, to happiness, to everything comes from that one thing, self-worth, self-love. Mm-hmm. And it's about honoring who you are, because God does not make junk. Everybody's perfect already.
Yes.
Right? So that's what you mean about loving yourself that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
I do, and I think everyone should give themselves a pat on the back right now, including you, and say, I love me.
I love me.
I love me. Kiss yourself. I mean, people laugh at me and they say, how do you wake up in the morning? And I say, I kiss my hand. And then I start and then I meditate, but I do that as an acknowledgement to the universe, not that I'm a part and one with that, because in the end we are all one,
Yes.
And I honor that by that's like me kissing God, so I figure, hey, it's all good. It's lovely to know that you're on board. You're going to do amazing things. Hafeez Sumani, it was such a pleasure having you on the show tonight. Thank you so much for calling in from Toronto, Canada. And
thank you so much.
Have a lovely evening, and I wish you the best. You're going to do great things. I know you are. I just know it, and I know these things.
Much.
I know you will. Thank you so much. You take care of yourself, okay? Good night.
You too. Thank you.
Good night. That was a great show. Hafeez Sumani. He was headed for the 2012 Olympics in London. Had an injury, never made it, realized why he was doing what he was doing, and it sent him on a calling that's absolutely wonderful. And he's writing and speaking about the inner work to find your greatness and how to get yourself out of that slump and that depression and move forward in great ways. And who could not use more of that? I mean, we've all been down before, but he did it in a big way, and there's lots to say. I mean, we didn't touch on, I think we touched on a few of the main points, but there are a lot more, and they're very interesting, and the book is excellent. I highly recommend it. You should get it. And it's Hafeez Sumani. It's an ebook, so it's not anything it's easy to download, and you can get that. And you can find him on Instagram and Facebook. I'll spell his name one last time. Hafeez, and Sumani is Sumani. Excellent guest. We had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I will be off next week. I am traveling, and then I'm going to be back with a really interesting show, because I have someone who's really hard to get a hold of, and that's going to be July 22nd. Her name is Hillary Ramo. She's a quite famous radio gal, and she's written a book of transcripts of some of her best shows. I think she's done like 800 shows, and she's actually really, really popular. And she writes and talks about everything from Bitcoins to extraterrestrials and she's just a fascinating person, and she's a great journalist. So we're going to have a wonderful show. I hope you join me. July 22nd, I will be off next week. If you want to find out anything about me, ServetHassan.com, ServetHassan.com. And that website is being revamped. The new one will be out very soon, along with a new fan page on Facebook, and I'll give you all the information on that. And another website called KickedCancersAss.com is coming very soon. All three of those are all coming up, and the Facebook fan page goes along with all of those and everything that's coming up for my new book, If Life is a Cosmic Comedy, What Am I Still Doing Here? All good. Everything's wonderful. I'm still available for private consultations. The workshops and speaking engagements I have right now are private, so they're not up on the website, but I will be doing some that are open to any and all very soon, maybe online as well. So we're working on that at the same time. It's been a pleasure. And I have to say, like I kept saying during this show, that I end every show with be you to the full, because that is what's truly beautiful. Being your authentic self and touching base. Spend time alone with yourself and figure that out, because when you do, the answers come. All of the answers, as Hafeez says, and as many great men and philosophers have said, the answers are all inside of you. And if there's something you can't figure out, if you sit alone with yourself long enough, you'll find the answer. Even if it is simple as, why am I eating so much? Or why do I keep the same habit going over and over and over again? Those answers are all inside of you. There's a reason, and once you find it, it's easy to take care of it. So be you to the full is what gets you everything you want in life easily, effortlessly. It gets you in that flow that Hafeez was talking about when he was trying out for the Olympics and winning nationals and all of that kind of stuff. You will connect with who you really truly are, which is part of the universe and part of God himself. And you could do anything you want to do then. You know? Isn't that wonderful to know? You can. You can do anything. Take care. Have a good night. Thank you for joining me, and we will be back here on Sunday, July 22nd. Thank you so much. Good night.